Hello friends, in this session we'll be taking a look at the installation of CloudPak for business automation on the IBM cloud environment. So as you know, CloudPak for business automation provides integrated applications for business automations on a Red Hat OpenShift cluster. So this installation can also be done on a local environment, but to speed up the installation and to go through the cloud version of the installation, we'll be using the IBM Cloud. So you can search for the catalog item CloudPak for Business Automation. And for this, as you will need to install OpenShift cluster with certain basic requirements. And these are the options which have been selected. So if you click on the create cluster link, you will be led to a pre-configured OpenShift cluster configuration. So we are ready to install the OpenStack OpenShift system. So what is OpenShift? OpenShift is a packaging of Kubernetes and Docker. So it's basically Kubernetes cluster for orchestration of the Docker containers. So we have to keep some things in mind that it's for the CloudPak for business automation installation. We need at least 3 nodes. And first thing is to switch to single zone because multi-zone adds complexity to it. For a POC environment, a single zone is sufficient. Then you will choose the worker zone itself, and you will have to change the flavor. So you have to change the flavor to minimum 16 GB, 16 vCPUs and 32 GB memory for each of the nodes. And you should provide a worker pool name. For example, we'll provide this particular name here, and you need to specify public endpoints only. So because it's a POC environment, we'll only be using public endpoints, but otherwise you can have either private endpoints only, private and public, or public endpoints only. So we'll be choosing public endpoint only. You can give a custom name to your cluster, and you will choose the integrations, activity tracking, logging, and monitoring for it. If you have any entitlements to IBM Cloud, you can apply them here. And you are ready to trigger the creation of the OpenShift cluster. You can hit on create to start it. After about half an hour, the OpenShift cluster will be ready for usage, but you have to wait for the ingress status to change or at least the ingress subdomain to get created. So if you face any problems uh, that the ingress subdomain is not created and the ingress status is unknown and you are not able to launch the console, then you should rectify those before proceeding with the CloudPak installation. So this particular, we will click on this OpenShift web console link and we can go to the OpenShift container platform console, and as you can see the cluster status is good. The operators are updating, so please wait for all the operators to update and it should be in green status. This, you can ignore this insights. It's not available temporarily. And also you can check the status of your pods. So we have the OpenShift Kubernetes Docker cluster ready for the installation. So next step will be installing the actual CloudPak itself. We have ensured that the operators and clusters are in good status, and we will go to the catalog and search for CloudPak And CloudPak for business automation should pop up in the drop-down. So this is where we will actually run the script or the package uh, to install the CloudPak. So it needs Red Hat OpenShift. It has already identified that we have this cluster. It will run some validation checks, and if you see error message, go back and correct those warnings. If your cluster does not meet the minimum requirements for the installation, you will need to run the pre-installation script, but before that you have to add a project. We should be able to, yeah, it has to be lowercase, and you should be able to add a project with all lowercase. Now the pre-installation script is enabled and you can run the script, and in the meantime you can select what applications you'll be installing. You can give you can leave the default names and the resource groups at default. The location should match the location of your OpenShift cluster, and you will be deploying automation document processing, automation decision services, business automation application, and all these components, including ODM also. The script is still running, which has completed. So let's double check everything before we trigger this installation. Yep, everything looks great. Let's click on install. You'll be presented with this progress screen where you can monitor the logs for any errors, but mostly these scripts run without any hiccup. I have not faced any errors during running of these scripts. So the workspace creation is in progress. We'll revisit in a short while. After about half an hour of creation of the workspace, you will see this message, workspace creation successful, and you can check the logs if everything went fine or not. All the components are listed in here. Component applications which got installed on the various pods within OpenShift. Now we'll switch over to the OpenShift console, and here we can see that some of the operators are still pending, so let it complete and be in an available state before moving over to inspecting your individual components, access their dashboards, and explore what all is new in this particular CloudPak arrangement of business automation workflow. Running the script itself is not sufficient. The entire installation can take anywhere from 1 to 5 hours. It's already been 3 hours, and I am looking for a certain config map which indicates that the installation is complete. The config map is ICP4A. It basically has access in it. If you filter your config maps for access, at the end of the installation, you will get a access config, and from there you can get the URLs as well as the credentials to log on to the various application consoles and dashboards. So if you want to watch the progress, you can go to the events, and regular scheduled probes are being done which keep on checking the availability of the various services. And this is continuing so far, and I believe it will continue for 1 or 2 more hours. And you can look at all the pods created. For example, you can see just 3 minutes back and 2 minutes back a pod has been created. So the installation is still continuing. Hello. After about 5 hours, I'm checking the status of the installation. If I go to my project, I see that around 104 pods have been created and 127 config maps have been created. So this is approximately the size at which the access information should be available to us. If you click on config map from here or on the left hand side and search for access, you will see a config map for the access info. In this access info, all the URLs for the various applications as well as their user ID and passwords are available. On inspecting these, so first one is the Business Automation Studio. If you go here, basically we have automation applications and business applications. So, automation applications are our previous applications for BPTs, etc. And looks like the business applications are just the user interface based applications, or maybe even the content applications. But if you click on the business automations, it's basically our previous web PD itself, web process designer, and you can open these applications in the web PD. As you can see, it's the same under the hood, the same business automation workflow, work center connected to the web PD. Going back to the business applications, which is a new terminology, and looks like these are just user interfaces. User interface based applications without any automation like processes, etc. So I'll open this, and this is the designer view where these applications are assembled. So this seems like a new component in the CloudPak. As you can see, you can construct the user interface there here. It seems to be the case applications, the case solutions in the previous versions. Coming over to process portal, it's pretty much same as before, but some of the built-in dashboards are missing, and it's much lighter version of the previous process portal. The decision center is here, and as well as the decision server and other URLs are there. And I tried opening the navigator and all, but looks like navigator will need additional configurations. So that concludes our entire installation and verification of the various consoles. And it's a pretty heavy installation, takes about 4 to 5 hours even after the initial half an hour script installation. And if you look at the project overview, it's taking about 27 GB of memory, around 7 GB of file system space, and 74 pods, 104 pods basically. And looks like 1 or 2 pods are still failing and may need additional configurations to make it work fully. I hope you enjoyed this session, but be careful, you should have uh, partner world entitlements. Otherwise, it's a very costly proposition to be installing the CloudPak even for a POC also. So I plan to run it for a couple of days only and then shut down the instance to save on the virtual machine costs. Thank you.